We got an FAQ today. Are we back? Is Kruleboyz playable again? Let's talk about it. But first, thanks to my patrons, Matt Miner, Jason, Carl, Mason, and the rest of y'all. Wiberian for the art. Baron of Dice. I had 2 R's in this for apparently months. So, thanks. Fix that right up. Okay, so first let's actually have a look at what happened for... So we're focusing obviously here on Kruleboyz, right? Okay, so let's have a look. So one of the things that changed is something that I had suggested a really long time ago. I think when I first saw this rule, I actually emailed the GW and said, hey, you guys made an error here. Looks like you forgot that the timing of sneaking should be once per turn army in your movement phase, because then at least it's still playable. The fact that they changed it to the hero phase, like, I'm not sure if it was a mistake that they did that. I feel like maybe it actually was, because it was such a bad move that I was sort of convinced for a little bit that when the book actually came out that it would be errated immediately. I guess it was errated pretty quickly, but they changed the timing of sneaking from your hero phase into your movement phase. So this means that you can now use venom encrusted weapons and you can use sneaking. However, you can't use both on the same unit. If we actually look at the rules for sneaking, it says pick a friendly Kruleboyz infantry unit that has 10 or fewer models, find, is not in combat, and has not used a dirty trick ability this turn. Which means you can't use venom encrusted weapons on a unit of monster killers and then later in the turn sneak them. You can't do that. So that's fine. It's really not that big of a deal. The truth is, you're probably using venom encrusted weapons on either a monster. You're probably not even doing that. You're probably using another reinforced unit of gut rippers, which also can't be teleported. So we also don't have a ton of bonuses to charge unless you're playing Kragnos. So you can't venom encrusted weapons, 10 gut rippers, let's say, and then sneak them and then charge. And you can't do that. You have to do one or the other. That's fine. That's not a big deal. Normally, you're going to be sneaking around monster killers and bolt boys, and you're going to be venom encrusted weaponsing reinforced units and gut rippers. So I don't think this isn't really a big deal. This is a significant improvement. Yeah, I think that it's needed, right? Like it was needed. If you just left this alone the way that it was in the hero phase, I feel like this is I don't know. Kruleboyz. Yeah, we'll talk. Yeah, okay. The second big change was that, let's just make sure I got made sure I got all my points. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So the second big change here is that the Snatcher boss on Sludge Raker Beast has been changed as well. His Festering Wound ability. It's been changed in 2 ways. The first one is they fixed the rule so it doesn't stick to a unit for the entire game. So it says pick up to 3 enemy units that had any damage points allocated to them this turn. They added in this turn. It used to say damage points allocated to them by attacks made by this unit or friendly units with the Sludge Raker Venom keyword. It doesn't say that. Now it specifically says this turn, right? So that's fine. That's probably as as intended, right? Like, I'm sure that it wasn't the intention of the rules writers that you could sort of like throw these keywords or use this poison and get it on a unit early, and then for the rest of the game you can do it, right? Like, I'm sure this is as intended, so this is fine. I guess technically this particular part is a nerf, but it's overall it's not nerfed because it no longer says what it used to say. The second change that they made is that it used to say combat attacks. And now it doesn't say combat attacks, it says attacks, which means ranged shooting attacks also now trigger this Sludge Raker Venom. So Bolt Boys can do it. Bolt Boys can stand next to a Sludge Raker and they can shoot targets, right? Because the Sludge Venom, it says, pick a friendly Kruleboyz unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit to be a target. Now you're choosing Boltboyz. The unit has the Sludge Venom keyword for the rest of the turn. Fine. So it says, pick up to 3 enemy units that had any damage points allocated to them this turn by text made by this unit, or a friendly unit with the Sludge Venom keyword. So, and then, you know, roll the D up for each target. On a 2-up, inflicted amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll, and subtract 1 from wound rolls. And it's once per turn army, end of any turn. So this works with counter shooting, right? Like you can, because it, you know, you do the Sludge Raker Festering Wounds Rampage once per turn army, end of any turn. So every turn. Yeah. So you can now, like, get a reinforced unit of Boltboyz, and you can split up their shots. It's going to be less effective at dealing damage, but you can give 2 or 3 units at range -1 to wound. That is, like, that's significantly better. One thing that it really makes a big difference is that you get to put this debuff on the opponent before they get into combat with you, or before you charge into them, because obviously shooting happens before charge in combat. So at range, you can debuff them. You can also do this immediately right at turn 1. We've been talking a lot about Kruleboyz lists that play a lot of Boltboyz as a way of dealing damage. That's still what we're looking at here. We still struggle with damage. It's still one of the things in this army that hasn't been addressed and fixed, and I don't think it's going to be addressed and fixed. I think they're going to try to address and fix this with points, right? If you have more models and you're rolling more dice, you will deal more attacks, right? But at least now with Boltboyz, we can do this at range. And then don't forget too that at the end of every turn, you roll a D3 for each target that has been affected by Sludge Raker Venom, right, up to 3. And on a 2-up, it does D3 mortals as well. So, like, it's a little bit of extra damage, and it does suck that you need... Oh, no. Yeah, roll a D3 for each target. So you do need a 2-up on a D3, so for you to get the -1 to wound. So it's still, to be honest, it's still kind of mid, because 33% of the time it's going to do nothing. Which means you want to be hitting multiple units with it, so that at least a couple times, like 2 out of 3 times, you're getting this debuff, right? But, like, it doesn't feel... It is a buff, but it's not hugely impactful. It's fine. It's fine, right? The sneak move is significantly better. Being able to use venom crested weapons and sneak is much, much better. But yeah. And then the third change that we got was to Gorkrora. It add the following to the effects of bellowing wah cries. So if you remember, bellowing wah cries is its only ability, right? We can have a quick look at it here. Bellowing wah cries is its only ability. Pick either 1 or 2 to add to the casting roll or chanting rolls for the target unit until the start of the next turn. Then roll a number of dice equal to the number picked, either 1 or 2. For each 1 or 2, allocate 1 damage point to the target. Ward rolls cannot be made. For each 5-up until the start of your next turn, add 1 to charge rolls for friendly Kruleboyz or Iron Jaws units while they're wholly within 12 inches of this manifestation. So they said add the following to the effect of this ability. Friendly units can be affected by this ability multiple times, and the effects are cumulative. I feel like this raised more questions, and I'm still not 100% sure that I understand this, but from what I've seen hanging out with folks in Discord and chatting up people in Discord, it just seems like this is a clarification that you can get more than +1 to charge. You can actually have +2 to charge. And that's fine. I feel like, though, that it was pretty clear before, and I don't know if this is meant just to clarify that you can have, like, more than +1 to cast or more than +1 to charge. I don't understand how this is making it clearer. Either I'm totally missing something here, or this is just muddling it. Friendly units can be affected by this ability multiple times in a turn? Like, in the game, and the effects are cumulative. It can't be that you accumulate pluses to cast over the game. There's no way you're like, oh, it's turn 2 and I have a Swamp Call Shaman that's +5 to cast. Like, there's no way that that's what they mean. So I think it just means that, yeah, I think it's just clarifying the bonuses to charge. So, is this a buff to Kruleboyz? Yes. Is it a large buff to Kruleboyz? No. It's, in my view, a pretty mid buff to Kruleboyz. Again, we're still gonna need points, and we need more than this, because taking away the Sludge Raker damage was serious. Like, we were a Mortal Wound blender before, and it was really our only form of damage. So that's we still need more. I could see some points adjustments making this army back into that like B tier. So we're gonna have to wait and see, but it's good news. At least they understand that there's a problem and they're taking some steps to address it. And these tweaks are small changes, but well, the sneaky sneaking one is relevant. But the Sludge Raker one is sort of like, it's something. I think that, like, I would move the Sludge Raker out of F tier. I'm not sure if that's where I put him, but I would move him out of F tier. Or out of I might bump him up a tier and be like, okay, like if you're doing like a Bolt Boy heavy, but even then it's like, he's not that expensive, I guess. I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Join the Discord, talk to me there. Like, subscribe. Wah.